The realm of Sanctuary was created as a haven for renegade angels and demons seeking escape from the eternal conflict between heaven and hell. Ruled over by the angel Inarius and his lover Lilith, a demon, Sanctuary was a place of unity between celestial and infernal beings. However, Inarius soon felt a terrible darkness looming over his realm. At the same time, a group of powerful beings known as the Nephalem, offspring of angels and demons, also sensed this ominous threat. They came before Inarius to warn him of an impending doom and offered to help defeat this sinister force. In the heart of Sanctuary, a land built by the renegade angels and demons who sought escape from the eternal conflict between heaven and hell, the city of Ure stood as a monument to the triumphs and tragedies of its inhabitants. The heroes had vanquished the forces of evil time and again, but the shadow of impending doom always loomed over the horizon. Inarius, the angel who helped create Sanctuary with his lover, the demon Lilith, ruled over the land with a firm, but just hand. Although the couple had long been separated, Inarius still clung to the hope that one day they would reunite and live in peace. But dark whispers of a terrible fate for Sanctuary forced him to confront the harsh reality that his dream might never come to pass. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the city in an eerie twilight, Inarius stood upon the highest tower of his palace, contemplating the fate of his realm. A chilling wind blew through the air, and the angel felt a sense of foreboding unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was as if the forces of darkness were preparing to unleash their fury upon the land he had fought so hard to protect. In the city below, a gathering of Nephalem, the powerful offspring of angels and demons, sensed the same dark omen. They were the chosen ones, born with the potential to surpass both their celestial and infernal ancestors. Among them stood a warrior named Corvail, who bore the mark of the heavens, a radiant sigil etched into his flesh, symbolizing his divine heritage. Corvail's eyes narrowed as he gazed up at the brooding figure of Inarius atop the tower. He knew the angel's heart was conflicted, but he also sensed something far more sinister at play. Gathering his fellow Nephalem, Corvail resolved to warn Inarius of the impending danger and discover the source of the darkness that threatened to consume Sanctuary. As the Nephalem approached the palace, they were met by a host of Inarius's angelic guards. Corvail stepped forward, his voice resolute. "We seek an audience with Inarius," he declared. "We have knowledge of a terrible threat that endangers all of Sanctuary." The guards hesitated, but ultimately allowed the Nephalem to pass. They knew that these mortal beings, born of both heaven and hell, held the key to Sanctuary's survival. Once inside the palace, the Nephalem were led to Inarius, who awaited them in his throne room. "Inarius, we have come to warn you of a dark force that seeks to bring ruin upon Sanctuary," Corvail began. "We know not its origin, but we have seen visions of a terrible battle that will shake the very foundations of this realm." Inarius listened intently, his expression grim. "I have felt this darkness as well," he admitted. "But what can be done to prevent such a catastrophe?" Corvail looked to his fellow Nephalem, each one bearing the mark of their celestial or infernal lineage. "Together, we possess the power to confront this threat," he said. "But we must act quickly, before it grows too powerful to be stopped." With Inarius's permission, the Nephalem set out on a perilous journey to uncover the source of the darkness that loomed over Sanctuary. They traveled to the far corners of the realm, delving into ancient ruins and forgotten crypts, seeking any clue that might lead them to their enemy. As the Nephalem ventured deeper into the hidden recesses of Sanctuary, they began to uncover a terrible truth. The darkness that threatened their land was not some external force, but rather a corruption that had taken root within Inarius himself. The angel's yearning for his lost love, Lilith, had driven him to seek forbidden power, and in his desperation, he had unknowingly unleashed a malevolent entity that fed upon his anguish. The Nephalem, horrified by their discovery, knew that they had no choice but to confront Inarius and attempt to save him from the dark force that had consumed him. But they also understood that in doing so, they risked unleashing the full might of the corrupted angel upon Sanctuary. As they returned to Ure, the Nephalem found the once thriving city in the grip of chaos. The darkness had spread like a plague, corrupting the land and twisting the minds of its inhabitants. The streets were filled with the cries of the tormented and the sounds of battle, as those who had not yet succumbed to the darkness fought desperately to survive. The Nephalem stormed the palace, cutting a path through the hordes of corrupted angels and demons that now served Inarius's twisted will. With each step, they felt the weight of their responsibility to protect Sanctuary and save their celestial creator from the darkness that had consumed him. As they reached the throne room, the Nephalem found Inarius transformed, his once radiant visage now twisted by the entity that possessed him. His eyes burned with an unholy fire, and his voice echoed with the darkness that had taken hold of his soul. "You dare challenge me, the creator of Sanctuary!" Inarius roared, his voice filled with rage and despair. "You, who are nothing more than the offspring of my own folly." Corvel stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear that clenched his heart. "We come not to destroy you, Inarius, but to save you," he replied. "You have been consumed by darkness, but we believe there is still hope for your redemption." Inarius laughed bitterly, the sound echoing through the throne room like a death knell. "Redemption? There is no redemption for one who has fallen so far. Only destruction awaits me and all of Sanctuary." With a roar of defiance, Inarius unleashed his full power upon the Nephalem. The air crackled with energy as the celestial and infernal offspring clashed with their creator, each blow shaking the very foundations of the palace. The battle raged for hours, neither side yielding an inch. But as the sun began to rise, casting its first light upon the devastated city, the Nephalem found a moment of opportunity. Corvel, summoning the last of his strength, struck Inarius with a blow infused with both the divine and infernal power that flowed through his veins. The impact of the attack shattered the darkness that had consumed Inarius, and for a brief moment, the angel's true self shone through the corruption. In that instant, he realized the terrible mistake he had made and the price that Sanctuary had paid for his folly. With a cry of anguish, Inarius used the last of his power to banish the malevolent entity from his being, severing his connection to the darkness that had threatened to consume all of Sanctuary. As the darkness dissipated, the corrupted angels and demons who had served Inarius returned to their senses, the twisted influence that had held them in thrall now broken. In the aftermath of the battle, the Nephalem and the inhabitants of Ure worked tirelessly to rebuild their shattered city. Though the scars of the conflict would never fully heal, the people of Sanctuary found solace in the knowledge that they had triumphed over the darkness that had sought to consume them. Inarius, his power diminished and his spirit forever changed by the ordeal, abdicated his rule over Sanctuary. He dedicated himself to a life of penance, seeking to atone for the suffering he had caused and to ensure that the darkness he had unleashed would never again threaten the realm he had created. The Nephalem, now hailed as the saviors of Sanctuary, found themselves facing a new challenge, the task of guiding their world into an uncertain future. With the wisdom and strength they had gained through their trials, they were determined to protect their home from any threat that might arise, whether it came from heaven, hell, or from within Sanctuary itself. As for Corvel, his actions had earned him the respect and admiration of his fellow Nephalem, and he found himself thrust into a position of leadership. He vowed to honor the memory of those who had fallen during the battle for Sanctuary and to fulfill the potential that had been granted to him and his brethren by their celestial and infernal heritage. And so, a new era dawned for the people of Sanctuary, an era of hope, unity, and the eternal vigilance of the Nephalem, who would stand as guardians against the darkness that would always seek to find its way back into the heart of the world. The realm of Sanctuary endured a harrowing ordeal in facing the threat of darkness that arose from within. Led by the Nephalem, the powerful offspring of angels and demons, its inhabitants were able to defeat the sinister force that had corrupted their creator Inarius and nearly consumed their world. Though scarred by the conflict, Sanctuary emerged with a new hope for the future under the guidance of the Nephalem. The Nephalem now stand as eternal guardians protecting Sanctuary from the forces of darkness that will always seek to overtake it. They have a difficult path ahead in leading their realm toward an uncertain fate. But with the wisdom and strength they have gained, they are determined to safeguard their home against any threat, from whatever source it may arise. Inarius, having unleashed and then defeated the dark force that nearly destroyed all he held dear, has relinquished his rule over Sanctuary. He has chosen a life of penance, seeking to atone for his mistakes and ensure that such darkness never threatens the world he created again.